Namaskar and welcome. The Chinese tech companies have been in free fall since February. They've lost about $800 billion in market capitalization, and this has been the result of a domino effect because India had started the ball rolling by banning some Chinese apps. In fact, that created an international debate on ethical tech, and in this paradigm shift, Chinese companies are now trying to fit into the new mode of ethical tech. But there are huge opportunities here for India. Chinese tech companies were considered the bridge between China and the West. But they were doing more than that, with the Chinese government controlling much of their data, thus giving China access to excessive control and compromising user confidences. But the Chinese tech companies have found the going tough after international pressure started building on China. It started with India banning over 260 Chinese apps that began to have a domino effect, with the US and Europe following suit, forcing the Chinese government to change course and become part of the global ethical tech order. But the damage to their reputation has been done. India, on the other hand, has always had a good reputation for trust, and the decline in Chinese tech stocks that have resulted in a loss of $831 billion of market capitalization since February of 2021 signals an opportunity for India. In a bid to fit in, the Chinese government has been working on a sweeping new regulatory framework for online businesses. Several Chinese majors are reported to be cooperating with authorities to enhance their compliance systems. This is a new era of harsher oversight, which also involves a growing debate on what forms the basis of larger regulation of internet commerce. China watchers across the world are perplexed as to what led to the sudden spate of aggressive regulatory measures by the Chinese government. They had willfully ignored warnings in the past, but have finally realized the perils of lack of data protection and privacy. The larger question is how a regime that doesn't respect human dignity will conform to rules that are designed around human dignity. The global debate on ethical tech has been started by India's actions and have in all probability forced the corrective measures that Chinese tech companies need to comply with to continue operations domestically as well as in foreign markets. In the new paradigm, market expansion and success of tech companies will depend on compliance to legal provisions for user privacy, data sharing, and fair market practices. Some experts believe this is a big moment for Indian startups. India has a good track record in regulating big tech, particularly in privacy and data protection. There is already a flight of capital, and its destination could be India first.
21वीं सदी की टेक्नोलॉजी और उस टेक्नोलॉजी ड्रिवेन आवश्यकताओं को देखते हुए ही हमें एक फ्यूचरिस्टिक विजन के साथ काम करना होगा.
After all, it was the Indian government's actions that initiated a global debate against unethical tech and its dangerous practices. This is the subject of an article by Sridhar Vembu, founder and CEO of Zoho Corporation and member of the National Security Advisory Board. Thank you very much, Mr. Vembu, for being with us here on DD India. Now, the first point is that you make in this article is that since February, the Chinese tech companies have lost $800 billion in market capitalization, and Indian tech companies have unprecedented opportunities. What are these kind of opportunities, sir?
So there is a global shift where, due to the geopolitical realities on the ground, that there is the West is looking for investment opportunities, and India is, of course, the largest demographic and the deepest pool of talent, and potentially the largest market ahead going forward. And of course, India is a democratic nation with an open political system and very credible judiciary, all of it.
Yes.
And that means that now global investors are now looking for an outlet, and India is naturally emerging, particularly in tech. And we can see this in the flood of capital into India. In the last 6 months, we have had the highest amount of capital pouring into India. While this creates short-term distortions and fluctuations, it also is a vindication of the model that the longer-term story of India.
Indeed, indeed. Why is the Chinese government trying to address issues like violation of antitrust law, unfair market practices, user data, privacy issues? How concerned is it then about loss of global markets?
There is it's impossible to exactly say how the Chinese government is thinking, but from the outside observers' point of view, if we can read the tea leaves, we can say that they're definitely concerned about the global market perception of their companies. And the reason for that is obvious. I mean, there is in technology after technology, Chinese companies have faced resistance because, a lot of it is also started in India. And then the US followed up, and Europe, everywhere there are concerns. And the reason is that, the opaqueness of where is the data going and what are the data handling policies, all of this have caused serious concern. And it appears from the outside point of view that the Chinese government is reacting to these pressures by reining in on their own tech companies to be more respectful of privacy and all of those things. And there may also be other political things going on that I'm not really completely, I won't claim to understand all of these, but definitely from the outside perspective, we can see what they are also reacting to.
So indeed, you do also mention, sir, that it was the pressure that began with the Indian government banning apps, Chinese apps, and then there was a domino effect. Now this domino effect has sort of built up quite considerably, and I mean, you make the case also that obviously this has made China rethink. In this time, I mean, have Indian companies taken advantage of the situation?
Not immediately, but definitely there are Indian companies have come up.
Right.
But I believe it will also longer term. We have to look at this as a long-term 5 or 10-year trajectory, because a lot of these technologies they cannot be built overnight. We have to build the fundamental capabilities, and there is a huge opportunity for India here, because the world needs India, and the world needs India to be a strong player in technology in all of these, and it's multiple reasons. Of course, if you look at the US itself,
right,
the talent pool in Silicon Valley or in Seattle or in all of the tech hubs, a large number of Indian origin people and Indians are there in the industry now, the tech industry. And that's one thing. And so in a very crucial way, the Indian talent is very critical for US technology industry. And demographically, if you see, both US and EU need our talent pool, because there's a demographic challenges they face. And India being an open democratic nation, which there are shared values here, that also makes it easier to do business with India, and India understands the West, and the West understands India far better. Right, so all of these reasons, I believe that I do see a lot more investment ties, all of this happening. And of course, always the investors would have had complaint about a lot of the things about India, which is the same complaint they would have about their own countries, because the regulatory systems or what they consider hurdles are simply coming from our democratic setup. We just cannot move as fast when you have to build a consensus. But once we get moving, we definitely move resolutely. And so that is why I think now India's time has come. And also domestically within China, there may be pressures for them to pull back, because they face a massive bubble. China, they cannot continue their bubble policies, because there are domestic pressures on them too. And from a financial, the bubble side, growing debt within China, all of that. So that all of these create a good opportunity. And I also want to mention, demographically, China is also turning the corner where within even as little as 2 or 3 years, China may face a population decline.
Okay.
And this means that this factory of the world is no longer sustainable as a policy. Meanwhile, Indian demographics, actually all the youth are coming into the force all of this. Now is the time for
Right.
both our job creation and the investment flow. So all of the factors are kind of aligned right now.
Fascinating. But, there has been a concern about mishandling of user data by tech companies, and this is a global debate. But how serious is this concern when Chinese companies are involved? And because earlier they were now that we are talking about ethical tech, but earlier there wasn't much talk about it, and there was concern about Chinese companies' involvement in, in user data breaches.
Around the world, end users, customers, as well as governments have become more and more privacy conscious, and the value of controlling access to data, all of it. So while, as somebody put it, information wants to be free, but personal information has to be protected.
Right.
And there has to be a right to privacy. And this is now more and more getting recognized worldwide. And from that respect, the fact that Chinese tech companies are in critical sectors and they have access to all this data, naturally, what are the regulatory regimes that they are subject to? That's a natural question. And in part, the Chinese government has reacted to these pressures by saying we do have tough regulatory regimes at home to regulate these companies on this privacy and data access, all of it. It's a demonstration to their own citizens as well as to the rest of the world, saying that we have all these safeguards in place. Because until now, it was a little bit of a Wild West in this respect. And it was, people within China itself, as well as the rest of the world, there had been a sort of, lax attitude about these, but that is tightening now. So, and future will be where it is going to be a lot more stringent norms we can expect on this. Privacy, data protection, all of that.
Indeed. And the Chinese are now complying, you're saying, with the new data norms that are being built up. And of course, this is a global debate. There are different models from the US to EU. There is a new theme that is coming in, and the Chinese companies are now bound to, are they bound to to comply with these new rules?
That is definitely they would have to, and within China itself, I think that's a signal that's being sent to them now. And at least as a measure of globally demonstrating that we do want to rein in these companies, they're not going to have a free run with data. They cannot do whatever they want. That's what is being, at least, the perception they want to create, or whatever the reality is. But definitely that's the idea behind these measures now.
Right, because you did mention there is the concern that countries that are not based on democratic norms, that have had the free way with doing as they please. Those countries, for instance, even in the case of the coronavirus, we are not sure where it came from. So, these are the kind of issues. So when we talk about ethics with China, there are a number of issues that are raised. And even if they say they are following the rules-based order, how are we so sure? Especially if the technology can breach various protocols.
Yes, this is where I think for Chinese companies to play in the global market, the world is going to demand more accountability, more transparency, all of these, which the Chinese government would have to listen to these concerns of the world customers, because the global market is important to them.
Yes.
Just as it's important to us. So, which means that this pressure is going to come from several quarters. It's not just from India. India is part of a whole community of nations in Europe, in the US, of course, and Canada, and Latin America, and Middle East, everywhere these are on. And data protection legislation is coming up. For example, recently South Africa passed legislation on privacy and data protection. So this is a global trend, and China will have no option but to comply. And this is where the internal issues of China are no longer internal issues in this case. It has global ramifications, because once you participate in the global market, your internal things necessarily become externalized. So the world has a stake in it. And I think these measures they are adopting are an acknowledgement of it in a sense.
Right. So you also say that in this new paradigm of ethical versus unethical tech business, India is definitely standing to gain. It's an advantage to Indian tech companies. Why do you say so? And I mean, how quickly should we take advantage of this? Because there obviously would be a time frame involved before others, it's always a race.
Geopolitically, as well as in many respects, culturally, India is seen as a soft power nation. That is, we win with the power of ideas and not a force, right? And not through deception.
Right.
So, and that is that's the image of India the world has. And Indian immigrants are doing extremely well everywhere. It's visible from Silicon Valley or Europe, and now Japan wants it. And in fact, I have often argued that we have to fight to retain our own talent, because we need the talent back home here too. But we can take certainly pride that Indian talent is so valuable everywhere, whether it's Middle East or Japan or in US or Europe. Indian talent is so highly coveted and valued. And that is also a cultural strength of our nation, that wherever we go, we actually play by the rules. We play by the local rules, we adapt well, and we become good citizens of wherever we are, which is a strength of India. And that is an image definitely Indian companies can carry that abroad, the same image of playing. And that is, I think, long term, that is the correct way to be a global player. And that's what I strongly believe.
So is this then the beginning of more regulation of services over the internet, content as well? I mean, there is going to be a more, after all, the internet was supposed to be this free space. And now, because it's going all over the place, there is the larger debate of how much regulation should be there and who should regulate. So, I mean, this is also part of the debate, isn't it?
Yes, and regulation is here to stay. Regulation is already happening everywhere. It's here to stay, and wherever we play, and this is one ethos that I have advocated. If we play in a country, we have to play by their rules. We have to respect national sovereignty. We have to respect their boundaries and their laws. And it's the same thing. Whoever plays in India have to respect Indian laws and Indian rules, regulations. So that is important, and that is something that's going to be established more and more and more. And you'll see this spreading around the world. And one pressure that we have seen in business ourselves, every country now wants data kept in its own soil. Their citizens' data and their business data, all of that kept in their own soil. And you're going to see the spread of this legislation everywhere. And even, I mean, for example, US and Canada have a NAFTA treaty, all of that. Still, there is pressure from Canadian customers. Please keep Canadian data in Canada. And we see this between Netherlands and Germany. German customers say, yes, you have a data center in Netherlands, but please keep the German data in Germany. And even though they are very close allies in the EU,
right?
So these things are going to matter more and more.
So then what are the key issues that are being addressed in this ethical tech order that is being created, sir?
Yeah, and as I mentioned already, definitely obeying the national laws and regulations. That's going to be important, because there's something that many of the global tech companies have acted as though they are above the law, that they are a law unto themselves, and that's no longer going to be true. They would have to respect the local laws and abide by this, because that's why we have nations. We have countries, because countries have their own value systems, their own civilizational ethos, and we have to respect them. And that is going to be demanded of tech companies. This is really a maturation of technology. The technology has now become very core to our lives, that it's a very fabric of even rural living now. It's not just, for the elite. Everyone is part of the technology system now, which means that culture and sociology and politics, all of which have to shape those companies, and they are not above all of it. I think that is what we are going to see.
Indeed. You also see online tutoring as an opportunity, because of domain-specific companies going global. And you say India has an advantage here because probably, a lot of our companies that are involved with online tutoring were only catering to the Indian market, and they have a huge opportunity to go global. What is the kind of potential you see here, sir?
India always has been a great teacher. That's why, and Indian teachers are highly valued. Even in the US, a lot of the professors in major universities are Indian. And this has a natural, when we, this for educational companies, that teaching from India and with Indian teachers definitely has a huge advantage in global market. And this has to be, and I think we'll see this, and because education is such a big thing, and this is going to, you'll see both for-profit and non-profit initiatives in this. But I do believe India has a very vital role to play in this.
Indeed. And finally, you make an important point. You say that this debate now is on ethical and unethical tech, and it was spearheaded by India, of course, banning apps, Chinese apps, and that created a domino effect. And you also mentioned, even throughout this interview, about India being a nation of values. So in this term, in this context, has India's profile internationally improved a great deal? And is India now going to play a much more a global role, especially in shaping this new type of architecture?
Absolutely, and definitely India, the respect for India has grown, and it's a slow and steady process. Like everything about our country moves. We are a country that will think in thousands of years. It's not like 6 months, 1 year time frame, but we definitely are. Our image is steadily growing, and that's also because the world. For example, take the COVID battles, the second wave. As hard as it is, India actually came through with flying colors. It's something that is, very, very tough on our nation, but we did not have a generalized breakdown of society, all of that, the dire things people predicted sometimes with, we actually, Indians behaved with remarkable restraint. We took our pain. And now it is, this thing is affecting the entire world. So it's an example where the respect for India has actually grown. And now India has actually put in place all the oxygen, all of it everywhere, so that if there is a third wave, we'll definitely handle it much better now. The government, the public, everyone is educated now. So these are things that definitely are raising our both our own self-esteem and the image abroad.
Indeed, and you did mention about how Indian professionals are well sought after across the world. You yourself are an entrepreneur of great standing. So the point that even the Prime Minister had made when he went to the US, when are we going to have Indian companies that are going to be global giants, so and global multinationals? So in that context, are we getting there?
We'll get there. That's part of my own personal mission with our company. Definitely, we are on track to do that. But I'll offer this: the key lesson for entrepreneurs in India is that we have to invest in long-term R&D and know-how creation and skill building. That is of the essence. And if we do that, we definitely will have global champions coming from India. And it has got to be long-term. We cannot do this overnight, but over a decade, over 2 decades, we definitely can create 20, 30 global major companies that operate out of India.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Sridhar Vembu. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.